So now we're ready to design our HyperDoc and include the multimedia content. But before we do that, I just want to show you what my very first HyperDoc looked like. I made it to support 3.8D, identify the planets in Earth's solar system and their position in relation to the sun. So I just found HyperDocs on the internet, I became obsessed, and this was my very first attempt at making one. And as you can see, it's one page. I didn't include all of the different steps or parts of the learning cycle, and I actually renamed it. Like the engage, I renamed it to connection or hook. Really, you can name them anything you want. So very quickly, the very first thing they had to do was go to this Study Jams Interactive and learn about a day on Earth. So they played a little video. It kind of walks them through, the solar system, and it's a lot of fun. When they go into the independent application, they have to log into Launchpad because we're using Discovery Education content. So that's another little tip you need to remember is if you do include anything from Discovery Education, make sure you tell the kids to log into Launchpad first. Otherwise, they won't be able to open anything from that website. So when they click on it, it's going to take them to an interactive exploration. Forgot what this one was about. Oh, so basically they have to drag and drop the planets in the correct order from the position of the sun. And when they're finished, they have to answer these questions, which I just created on a separate Google Doc. And I think if I were to redesign this lesson, I would actually include these in these questions in this part of the table so that they wouldn't have to go to a separate doc. As you create these, you kind of figure out what you did wrong and ways you can make them better for next time. So then they use another Discovery Education resource, and they have to create a Google slide presentation and about the solar system and share it with their teacher. And then they, for the extension, they go to this website and they choose any one of these activities just to extend their learning. So as you can see, it was a very simple one. The one that I'm actually going to be modeling for you guys is going to be a lot more complicated, especially because I created my own content instead of finding the content on the internet. And you certainly don't have to do that. The only time I ever create my own content is if I can't find anything on the internet that I'm looking for. So then I have to go create it. But usually you can find whatever you need that already exists out there. Okay, so if we go back here, before we go to the engage piece, I do have a couple of links to some documents that give you some ideas for where to find interactive content and multimedia, and I also have some suggestions located in each of these sections. So let's go to my HyperDoc, and the first thing I want to do is delete this text, and I'm going to type in what I want them to do. So for engage, they are going to choose a learning mode to review the vocabulary for this unit. And I actually created a Quizlet deck that they're going to interact with. So why did I choose this for my engage piece? I'm always going to be referring back to this document. And what I noticed at the very bottom was a list of academic vocabulary. And I knew that when I was explaining the different parts of the assignment, I would be using these vocabulary words. So I thought this would be a good place to start by making sure that they understand the vocabulary for the unit. So I created my Quizlet deck. And when you do, and actually these are my words, so I have array, here's my definition, and then I have some pictures. It gives you different study modes that the kids can do in order to learn these terms. So I'll just show you flashcards real quick. When you click on flashcards, it'll bring up the card. So basically this is finding the product for the tens and ones separately, then adding them together so it has a little picture, and then they need to determine what the word is, and they click to flip it to see if they get it right, and then they move on to the next one. So this is just a way of them practicing the vocabulary just to make sure they understand it. Okay, so I want them to land on this page where they can then choose which mode they want to use to study. So I'm going to grab the URL that's in the address bar to this page, and I'm going to right click and choose copy. I'm going to go back to my HyperDoc, and I've already written my words where I want it to be linked, and I'm going to highlight it, go up to insert link, and then paste the URL that I just copied. And now I have my engage piece. So they have to choose a learning mode to review the vocabulary for the unit. They click on the Quizlet Deck and maybe take 5 or 10 minutes to review vocabulary.